Well, I think there is little debate nowadays that automotive is undergoing a fundamental shift away from horsepower and driving experience and talking a lot more about sustainable mobility, about life on board. Interiors stand at the center of this transformation, of this digital and sustainable transformation. What I will share with you today in the next few minutes, it is how we will address this opportunity, this unique opportunity to be at the convergence of sustainability and technology in our industry. First of all, if you allow me a quick presentation on our three different business models within interiors. On the left, the more traditional legacy business with the core products. This represents more than 80% of the activity altogether, and it comprises instrument panels, door panels, and central consoles. On the right side, service business, I would call it. It's really about assembling, about delivering on very short time windows, cockpits to car makers all around the world. In the center, I think you've heard about it today, and I will elaborate further on it in the next few minutes, is Materiact. It is our materials business. Certainly with a strong focus on automotive, but with the idea to go beyond automotive, to expand the reach of sustainability behind our traditional environments. The market dynamics, I think, are pretty clear to all of us, but it's very interesting to see how they can influence even a business like interiors. Certainly, in terms, number one factor, it's what you see here, fast-growing zero-emission vehicles. How is it relevant to us? Very simply, a vehicle architecture, a Z vehicle architecture, zero-emission vehicle architecture is much simpler than a typical IC vehicle architecture, and it gives more freedom to designers to shape the cockpit in different ways. Also, the emergence of higher levels of mobility, level 3+, even more so level 4, level 5 that are upcoming, give more time to do something else than driving. It gives more time to life on board and not driving experience itself. So this also creates another need to offer something more. And also here, it shapes the cockpit. And obviously, clearly, technology is part of everything we do. And this digital continuity, this phygital continuity is absolutely essential to what we deliver to the OEMs. So our current positioning on this market, we're market leader. It's still a very fragmented market. To a large extent, a lot of small players, not focused really on technologies, which is, well, for me, an opportunity to grow, but really a lot of fragmentation in our industry. Our advantage clearly in this domain is the capacity to leverage synergies in the field of technology. We spoke about it this morning with electronics on the HELA and Forvia electronic side, and I think it's going to be shared this afternoon with you by Andres on the lighting side for all interior lighting capabilities. A second point that I should also mention here, we're leveraging also a very strong legacy in the field of sustainability. We created naphthalene, natural fiber loaded resin. We started working on it in 2011, and it was on the first vehicle application in 2014. It was more than 10 years ago. This was absolutely visionary. And this is really a huge stepping stone, a huge foundation for Materiact and the journey we have now embarked into. How do we go after it? We created this triangle. It materializes our three-pronged strategy with regard to capturing this new opportunity. At the top, we call it Interiors 4.0. It's clear, very direct reference to Industry 4.0. We are process business. We use more than 15 different process technologies. The obvious one will be injection molding, but we do painting, cutting, sewing, wrapping, and many others. Our capacity to master, to control, to optimize our process is absolutely essential to defining our level of profitability, our level of competitiveness. So, no surprise, we put it at the top of our focus to leverage all technological advances in the field of automation, in the field of digitalization, to create a best-in-class manufacturing ecosystem for operations. Second one, bottom right, surface activation. We fundamentally produce surfaces, about 5-6 square meters of surfaces in the car, with the primary purpose. Historically, these surfaces have been here to shield the people in the car from what was between them and the sheet metal, so all the mechanical parts and so on. It was done in the most aesthetically pleasing manner, but still in a passive way. Now these surfaces are what we have in front of us in the car. They are what we touch, what we're in contact with for most of the ride. What about activating these surfaces so that these provide directly light, no need to turn the lamp on, it's going to come from the surface, to provide heat, to provide sensing, haptic feedback. What about using surfaces for the full interaction in individualized bubbles? This is the second pillar for a strategic approach. The third one, obviously, it's about sustainability. Sustainability in materials, sustainability in architectures. I'm not going to touch base here on the material side, elaborate in great lengths later. Sustainability of architecture goes beyond this. Extending mobility from a sustainable perspective means extending its life, extending its use. It's very difficult to do if the vehicle is totally obsolete, because technology has evolved so fast that it doesn't fit the need, it doesn't fit the taste of the moment. So it is very important that you can upgrade the technology through the life of the vehicle. We speak a lot about software upgrades over the air, very cool. But the expenses are not digital only, they are really phygital. And the upgrades in hardware will be necessary as well. So we need to design these architectures in a way, in a modular way, that facilitate these upgrades, removing obsolete technology, putting right technology in place for an addition, and also facilitating the end of life and the recycling in the most effective way. So that the second vector within our sustainable approach, material on the one hand, and working with OEMs at the right sustainable architecture to maximize the residual value of the vehicle at the different step of its journey. Let me now walk you through the different, each of these pillars to give you a bit more flavor about the content behind these ideas. So Interiors 4.0, it's fundamentally our cost competitiveness engine. It focuses on an operating margin improvement through the mastery of our processes. We have kicked off a project in Tarazona, Spain. It was one of our best plants, and we thought it would be the best place to engage into our plant of the future. I'm not going to use a word of mega factory, gigafactory, anything like this. But this is where we are right now, creating our plant of the future, embedding more 30 use cases associated with data-driven manufacturing, data-driven supply chain, with process control, green factory, so that we have this facility embedding the best we can do in our industry, and then cross-fertilizing it throughout our footprint. We kick-started this effort in spring. This plant will be ready, operational, according to these most modern techniques, at the end of this month. So it was really a very, very fast program to bring to bring to reality, once again, the best the industry can do, doing to a minimal touch, full data learning, machine self-control, and driving really our operation capabilities one or two orbits beyond where we have been historically. This is absolutely pivotal to everything we can do. We're going to go to more levels, adding image control at the end of the line to make sure that every product is scanned, measured for all optical defects that could be argued with an OEM. Get this approach certified with the OEM, and then eliminate any debate and drive absolutely record-breaking quality cost reductions. So this is for us a cornerstone, absolute cornerstone to our transformation. I've said we are doing one plant this year. It is our model plant, state of the art. Then we're going to be rolling it out over the next few years, region by region. We're going to use the same approach in China, in the Americas, to ensure we have absolute standardization and can support our OEMs with unique ways of producing throughout the world. And I think this is an essential argument for premium OEMs who want to produce the same car in 2 different regions, having the certainty that could be done exactly the same way, using exactly the same machine, with the same reliability in all parts of the world. Benefits beyond this are clear. What we are observing today is a confirmation of an output that can be boosted by approximately 30%. So huge improvement in terms of productivity, huge improvement in terms of return on capital employed. So second, certainly benefit of this approach, and the acceleration of supply chain that will be ensured through the data-driven approach with the right arbitrage will also translate in the corresponding inventory reduction of about 25%. These are obviously the principal cost-related drivers impacting ROI. Besides this, you see about a 300 basis point ROI improvement from 2021 to 2025. There will also be the contribution from the premium businesses we're entering. I mentioned active surfaces. Clearly, active surfaces bring technology, bring value, drive a 2-digit ROI, and this will be an accretive growth to our portfolio. Materials, the same way. We are increasingly integrating, as a matter of fact, by going through sustainable materials, integrated our supply chain in this regard. This also will translate into an accretive contribution to our ROI delivery. Surface activation, I touched base on the fundamentals behind. It answers fundamentally 3 value propositions. One, to the OEMs, it simplifies the cockpit. Bring all the functions you can bring into the side of the vehicle, open up the cockpit, open up the life on board. It's a value for the users. At the end of the day, take as an example of heating. Right now, we're going to be heating more or less the entire cockpit if we need heat. It's going to be a very different experience if now this heat is generated by surfaces all around your personal space. And by the way, it's going to be also a lot more efficient because, I mean, what percentage of driving expenses are with a single occupant on board? 60, 70%? We still keep on heating the full cockpit all the time. What about focusing only the one zone that has to be heated up because it's the only one being occupied? Also here, a side benefit. And finally, obviously for us, it is a tremendous competitive advantage to be able to bring these additional functionalities into the vehicle. It's not necessarily an increase to the cost of the vehicle itself. It's very often capturing value from similar functions being provided in a not so effective way. Top line potential, we estimate based on recent awards that we can generate as much as 250 euros of additional sales per vehicle. So a very significant impact. Obviously, there will be a certain growth in the adoption rate, but we believe here that it is a huge profitable growth potential for us within 3 to 5 years. Finally, Materiact, third driver. Materiact, it's about our commitment to really drive our net zero agenda. For interiors, no pun intended, it's a very significant impact as we are a major consumer of resins. We are committed to converting 80% of these resins to recycled materials or durable materials by 2030. Our objective through Materiact is to create this ecosystem, upstream and downstream. Upstream, it's about finding the feedstock. We need several 100,000 tons of feedstock. Easy to say, well, it should be easy to find in the marketplace. No. This feedstock needs to reach a certain quality, a certain sorting, so it requires a very significant effort to collect this feedstock and to bring it to the level of purity, to the level of quality that fits the requirement of our products. It also means aligning with OEMs. You know, what we are all discovering right now, it's what are the boundaries of the sustainable economy. We are used to having surfaces that are absolutely identical, repetitive. As soon as we enter the domain of natural materials, sustainable materials, there is variation. How much variation, how much potentially imperfection would be tolerated? And this is a journey we're working through with OEMs to ensure that we bring the right level of feed throughout the pipe, and we adjust our production capabilities and our formulation capabilities to the reality of the feed and the specification of the demand. So this is really where the value stands. This is where we bring legitimacy to the process. We know the application. We have been a pioneer in the definition of the materials. We can work on the application. We can work on the processing these materials to the right level of visual acceptability will demand very high level of process know-how. This links to what I mentioned to you earlier on the Interiors 4.0 domain. So fundamentally, it is a huge challenge, obviously, for industry. It is a fantastic opportunity for us. We have been committing the efforts to build these ecosystems already. We signed a partnership with a farming community, Interval, more than 10 years ago to bring hemp into our naphthalene material. We signed really a partnership with Forvia to secure recycled feedstock around Europe. We are now working at expanding similar sources, similar supply chain beyond Europe, because any customer wants to commit, any OEM wants to commit to these materials, want to be supported at a global scale with the same level of performance. There cannot be deviation. So no regional player, only global players welcome for this kind of development. And here we provide certainly the backbone that reassures in our capability and our commitment to deliver exactly that. So in conclusion, really for me, takeaways. Sales growth. We are extremely focused on BEVs. We have also a strong presence in China, and we have very significant upside on surface activation and through materials. This is a backbone for the increase in sales you're seeing here, from 4.6 to 6.3 billion euros over the horizon. Profitability will be driven out of cost. This is our Interiors 4.0 pillar, and it will be further supported by the focus on premium solutions that I just described, being surface activation and materials that we consistently integrate with our move to sustainability. And finally, strong cash. Certainly the EBITDA will be boosted by the increase in sales and improvement in operating margin. CapEx optimization as a direct result from the standardization and massification impacts of Interior 4.0, local for local supply chain, and certainly an order intake selectivity that we can really focus on accretive businesses according to our footprint and financial criteria set forth. So, thank you very much for your attention.
Thank you, Jean-Paul. Thank you for this comprehensive outline of the business. Before we move to the next business line, let me just remind you, those who are in this room and those behind their screens, that we will be able to take your questions later this afternoon. We have started to receive a few questions on the streaming platform, so feel free to push them and continue to do them now. Now, moving on to the next business line, seating. So what are the strategic priorities? Let's hear more from Frank Huber.
I'm happy to share with you today our strategic priorities for seating. With our two main businesses, Seat Structure Systems and Complete Seats, we are global innovation and sustainability leader. In Seat Structure Systems, we are worldwide #1 with 16% market share. And we are ideally positioned to, on the one hand, benefit from the strong market trends and to strengthen our global position. Our global footprint of massified plants, combined with a strong ramp-up of global OEM platforms, as well as our regional development capabilities, we are perfectly supporting the global market trends of our customers to deploy large-scale global platforms with regional value pools due to a high and increasing requirement of localization. In terms of sustainability, we have a super strong value proposition. Our green steel roadmap, as mentioned earlier by Patrick, is in place. And also on the product side, with our hybrid structures, with materials for lightweight and recyclability, we are very well positioned. The new and arising use cases and additional needs for electric vehicles, but also for autonomous driving, are very well supported by our advanced portfolio of standard mechanism and technologies. And to give you a glance, I would like today to introduce to you a new technology. This technology we will showcase at the CES 2023, and it is the most compact front seat platform on the market. Why it is? Due to its significantly reduced height of the cushion, it allows a significantly higher battery storage, which results into up to 40 kilometers additional range for electric vehicles, while at the same time allowing for the rear passengers more than 50% more footroom due to new kinematics deployed on the structure. And on top of it, we bring comfort to the next level because of a fast transition of the different seat positions. That is crucial for automated driving use cases and powered by super silent smart actuators. This product is engineered for use on global platforms based on a significant use of standardized components. Moving now further to the second business, the complete seat business. It is a vehicle-based activity that is largely linked to customer-specific JIT operations. We are globally #3 in this very regional activity. This business is very particular when it comes and very sensitive when it comes to inflation and also volume volatility. On the other hand, with the current market trends, we see a strong push towards advanced and customized seating experiences. And for sure, one of the key priorities, similar to what you have here in interiors, is sustainability and circular economy. We are ready to drive this transformation with our current position. Based on a strong momentum on our operational improvement, we will share later, or I will share later, that our Michigan project, which we have shared with you, the challenges we have had in the past, is operationally fully on track towards recovery. We have a growing network of multi-customer regional JIT plants. This is crucial in order to be able to decouple the one-to-one link between our customer vehicle assembly plants and our operations, especially in times where volume volatility is extremely high. With our sustainable materials, biosourced and recycled, we have a strong portfolio to support all trends that you can see in the market. And together within Forvia, our value position, especially when it comes towards electronic components and the electronic systems behind the seat, has significantly increased thanks to our colleagues from electronics. And lastly, I would like to share with you today a really breakthrough innovation in the complete seat business. It's our sustainable modular seat. With this new product, architecture, we're building something new that will coexist to our current traditional business. Our current business has certain limitations when it comes to sustainability and circularity, because a seat is built up in layers, difficult to disassemble, difficult to recycle. The individualization and the upgradability over lifetime for a seat, to a certain extent, especially when it comes to upgradability, also with some limitations, whereas our today's seat, for sure, have the maximum design freedom, given the fact that we develop, we build and produce them due to specific vehicle-specific, customer-specific styling requirements. But with the modular seat, and again, I'm talking about the coexistence for specific use cases I will come later on, we really be able to drive our sustainability and circularity to the next level, because the seat basically consists out of different modules that are easy to disassemble, easy to refurbish, easy to recycle, and to work towards a circular economy. At the same time, this kind of modularity allows to upgrade vehicles over lifetime with pre-qualified modules, or even during the life of a vehicle at the customers allows to add features. For sure, at a certain level, with a small constraint on the design freedom. Nevertheless, the teams have done a fantastic effort to basically close to no limitations on the design side. To explain you a little bit more in detail our new architecture, I will take this comparison. On the one hand, our regular traditional seat is, as I mentioned, a product that is built in layers, the seat structure, the different features, the cover and trim, specifically built up. Whereas on our modular architecture, we're talking about exchangeable modules, pre-qualified, that can be used across vehicles, even across brands within certain customer groups, and will allow, due to the fact that they're pre-configured, due to the fact that they're pre-qualified, significantly shorter development times, and then for sure resulting in significant lower development costs. To give you a feeling, today's seat consists of approximately 100 components to be assembled. Our modular platform is basically 10 techno modules to just plug together. And these 120 components that we have in our traditional seats today, they trigger certain consequences in our supply chain. So it is a must to have, given 120 components, the different options to combine them, certainly a sequence delivery to our customers, and even in an optimized manner, still a multi-OEM or multi-vehicle long-distance just-in-time operation associated to it. Whereas these 10 techno models that really allow us very flexible seat assembly options. We can even imagine to literally plug the seat together in the vehicle assembly facilities of our customer as kind of a kitting option and completely take out the very, I would say, decentralized infrastructure-heavy JIT operations out of our value chain, whereas building these modules vertically integrated in kind of mega plants for techno modules at best cost locations. And on top of all of it, this new seat architecture, as I explained before, enables an extended life in terms of refurbishment, in terms of upgradability, but also recyclability over lifetime. So to sum it up, this new architecture will not replace our regular seat, but will certainly have a strong position as a coexistence and will allow, especially for single vehicles, rather low volumes, applications to be a very, very, very attractive options. And to give you a feeling in terms of how the market is perceiving this innovation, we are already not even having it unveiled at large scale in multiple OEM co-developments, ranging from very essential volume players up to the premium segments. And to give you a little bit more of a feeling of that, you can see here just a couple of quotes from our key stakeholders at our customers. The customers and the feedbacks are ranging from essential to premium segments, from traditional OEMs to new EV OEMs across all regions. And the pull is really immense. Our strong strategic position and our strong innovation capabilities lead to the fact that we can grow and we will grow over 8 billion euros by 2025. We will certainly outperform the market while having at the same time the opportunity to be much more selective towards, for us, attractive segments. That will mean we will grow over proportionally in seat structure systems, as well as in our very high-performing and fast-developing region, China. This is a very strong and fundamental pillar of our way to restore our benchmark profitability from last year's 4.7% operating margin back to a benchmark performance of 7% in seating. So the first pillar, selective profitable growth in seat structure systems and China. The second pillar, capturing growth opportunities in the complete seat business, as one example, our sustainable modular seat, but also restoring our operational performance in North America, which I will come later to it. A key topic for us is certainly, and no surprise for all of you, the inflation compensation by a very consequent commercial and operational performance. On top of it, as already introduced earlier, the synergies, especially with HELLA Electronics, are significant and will be further contribute for us to vertically integrate in our value chain and contribute positively to our margin development. As mentioned, one of the operational key topics is the turnaround in North America. And I'm pretty proud to announce you today that in our Michigan project, we are fully back on track. And I think the impressions that you see here on the screen that really demonstrate nicely that we brought the facility back to a state-of-the-art seat structure system assembly and a state-of-the-art complete seat assembly facility. On top, we are now on the way for the next steps to structurally improve by relocating our seat structure system activities to our massified plant in Mexico, and it will be completed by January 2023. And in addition, the team is right now executing also towards a sustainable setup for the JIT, our just-in-time complete seat assembly by early 2023. So we can sum it up, our Michigan project is back on track. To wrap it up, how do we as Seating contribute to Power 25? First, we are able to drive our sales growth through innovations and sustainability. We will grow above 8 billion euro. We are with a strong, profitable contribution out of seat structure systems and China, as well as market share gains through our modular seat initiative. We will improve our operational profitability from 4.7 to 7%. One important contributor is North America. Second, no surprise, a very strict commercial management. And third, we see we have structural improvements on the operation side on the way. And just to give you one feeling, we will improve our turnover per square meter by close to 30% by 2025 through driving further massification of our plants. And ultimately, this will result in a very strong cash contribution to the group, facilitated by an order intake selectivity, structural improvements into having lower JIT operations, fewer JIT operations in our high-cost countries, and a strong operational improvement, which the momentum we can already see visible in our performance. And here, as an example, 10% less inventories and 20% higher capacity utilization. With our direction we have taken, we will strengthen our global #1 position in sustainable complete seats and seat structure systems. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Frank. Thank you very much. And now we move to another business line. So our next speaker will focus on the lighting business. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Yves Andres.
So, good afternoon, everybody. My name is Yves Andres. I'm part of the HELLA Management Board, and I'm representing today, happy to be here with you, the Lighting Business Group. We will see over the next few minutes the contribution of lighting to Power 2025 and obviously its performance. Obviously, when you think about light, we are conveying a very emotional product. We are conveying a product that is highly visible, but moreover, we are addressing with our products things that are allowing for the OEMs brand signatures, both on the inside and the outside of the vehicle. On top of this, communication, digitalization will be added, and safety-relevant functions will be key in the future. Today, we are doing this by addressing this with 3 business lines. First comes the front lighting solutions, where we are covering everything from illumination, so daytime running light, for example, up to main lighting functions. And last but not least, the front digital shields, which is a market that is growing at a pace of nearly 35% CAGR over the next decade, because EV vehicles in the future don't require any grille anymore, and it's offering a lot more of content for illumination, for integrating sensors, for integrating several functions into the product. In the middle section, you see our capabilities on the rear lighting functions, from simple rear lighting functions up to digitalized and communication devices like the digital flat lights, which you have probably seen on the displays behind the scene. And last but not least, obviously also body car illumination like the light carpets that are displayed here. On the interior of the vehicle, obviously we are covering products like from small lamps over more complex smart lights that are allowing customers to interface and to communicate with the drivers and the passengers both night and day. And last but not least, obviously with Forvia, complete surface illumination opportunities. Today, HELLA is the technology leader in the lighting market. We are doing this obviously because it's part of the DNA of the company to innovate and to have leading-edge solution for all our product lines. But not only on the technology side, also on the time to market. This is why the examples I will show here today are not only innovations that will be down the road there. We have between today and 25, all of these products are already on the road or will go into SOP. Let's start with the far left side, which is our brand new SSL HD technology. It offers a high LED software-based approach with up to 25,000 individually addressable pixels that are allowing, obviously, to significantly enhance safety on road by, for example, projecting line assistance or symbols when this will be legally allowed. We are, with this, the first to market on micro LED technology. SOP is for the first half of 2023, and we have been awarded a few days ago the prestigious CES 2023 Innovation Award in the category Vehicle Tech and Advanced Mobility. Again, first to market here. The second column, as I mentioned already before, it's the EV Digital Shields. We have been awarded already more than 1 billion euros of lifetime sales. It is with this, we are already securing a leading position on the high-end segment of this product segment. We are not only adding illumination to the front of the car, we are integrating new functions, we are integrating sensors, we are integrating radar technology, and moreover, we are offering both for us and for the customers the opportunity with less hardware variants to individualize the product based on software and foil inlays that can be placed underneath the top surface of the product. On the digital flat light, which is the third column that you see here, we are allowing enhanced digitalization and communication of our rear lighting functions. Why is it so special? It is so special, first of all, because it's based on our flat light technology that will already have an SOP in 2024. Based on this, we are competing with OLED technology from a functionality point of view. The difference here is that we are allowing, with this technology, a price tag that is approximately 60% lower than the comparable OLED technology. And this is where we are getting very positive feedback from the customer. And we are so confident about this technology that for the future generation, we will also offer this technology brick on the front lighting functions. Last but not least, and here as Forvia, Jean-Paul mentioned the synergies that we are having, our main interior product is obviously for HELLA lighting, the interior lighting. We are seeing, obviously, in the partnership, the opportunity with the customers to seamlessly integrate our product with the interior of the vehicle and offer, obviously, a lot of value for the OEMs by combining both. And last but not least, also the smart light technologies, which I mentioned before, is also here with 5 products or 5 customers. It's already going into SOP next year, so very concrete examples. With this technology backbone, we are very well positioned in the lighting market, as we have just seen. We are today the #1 player in electronic and software-based high-end LED solutions. This is, by the way, the fastest growing segment in headlamps. It is growing at a CAGR of 25% between 21 and 25. We are amongst the top 3 players in the world, where the top 5 altogether represent approximately 65% of the market. We are today a technology leader. I mentioned this. It's based on our DNA. We have a very high customer intimacy. We are the go-to partner when it comes to individualized, leading-edge tech solutions. Based on this, We are obviously also facing adverse market conditions. We have been naming them before, looking at inflations, looking at the bottleneck situations on electronics, so the stop and go, the disruptions that we are seeing that are obviously hitting us. We are seeing other events, like recently, for example, in Eastern Europe, the impacts in Ukraine that are obviously driving the market to a more local for local business need. On the other side, we are seeing China and North America with a slightly stronger rebound and a growing complexity of product that is fitting our technological roadmap. This will lead to us completely outperforming the market. The market, as we have seen it today, is growing at a pace of approximately 3% per annum between 21 and 25. The lighting market is growing at a pace of 6.8%, which is more than double the pace of the light passenger car vehicle market. We, as Hella Lighting, under these conditions and with this technological backbone, plan to outperform the market and achieve 10% annual growth. We're going to do this by focusing on 3 pillars. The first pillar is basically our order book, and it's the business we have already acquired. Today, we have an order book roughly valuated at 11 billion euros. 40% of this is based on EV platforms, pure EV platforms, that will grow at a pace of 30% over the next years. When you look at this, obviously, technology and this order book, this EV focusing is the first growth driver. The second one is based on our high customer intimacy. You are seeing that there's one group that is today underrepresented. It is the group beyond the German OEMs. We have a very, very high customer intimacy with these customers. But the other OEMs only represent today approximately 40% of our portfolio. This will grow until 2025 to approximately 55%, to a more balanced approach, leveraging the technology we have, the know-how we have, the reputation we have, to grow outside our core customers, which are obviously very often also the German OEMs with a high innovation content. Last but not least, we are leveraging the footprint that we have around the world to outpace the growth outside of Europe beyond the European continent. We will have a growth rate, if you average Asia and North America, that is a 14% CAGR, compared to the European growth that will be around 6%. So 6% is still representing a significant and market-aligned growth. 14% is obviously completely outpacing the growth. Adding to this, the unconsolidated JVs we have in China, that will grow at a CAGR of 19%, which we will obviously also benefit from via other mechanisms. Growth is good, but obviously we need to make it a profitable growth, a healthy and profitable growth. To do this, we are today transforming our business model. We need, on one hand, to focus on lowering the complexity, the diversity on our products, our processes, and our equipment. Today, let's start with the products. We have already launched the World Headlamp. The World Headlamp is fundamentally it's a win-win approach with the customers that is already on the road today with one OEM. It's allowing to cut the bill for CapEx and tooling by 50% and the production cost by 10%. The benefit for the customer is obviously a very easy logistics. It is only one part number they need to handle. It is allowing them a lot of flexibility and scheduling across the globe with their product and launching in a very robust way the similar technology all over the world. The way this is managed is obviously by having one simple but robust technological solution that is based on software, then allowing to represent all different aspects and legal requirements of the market. Furthermore, the light source itself, the lighting module, which you have seen before, and I just mentioned one example, that is the HD SSL technology. We are today seeing this as something that we need to standardize, we need to create generics, and we need to make sure that we are lowering the diversity on this. And we have a clear action plan, and it's going to reduce the complexity by up to 30% on the number of variants. The next topic is obviously on the equipment. We have, and I'm happy to announce it here today, we are defining and designing our own equipment and production lines that will allow us in the future to reuse the same equipment on final assemblies for at least 2 product generations. Obviously, this is a key enabler to reducing the manufacturing costs by up to 30%. All of this together, plus the selectivity on the acquisition, meaning going for larger platforms, is allowing us both on the R&D and the CapEx side to reduce the ratio, improve the ratio by more than 20% reduction versus sales. This is one pillar. The other pillar is obviously our manufacturing competitiveness. In North America and in Asia, I've been mentioning the 14% CAGR we are going to see over the next couple of years. We have today the right setup, the right specialization in these plans to accommodate the full growth without any footprint extension. In Europe, and driven obviously by a structurally lower demand that was already presented before in the main introduction, as well as a more complex footprint setup, we have to turn around our operations. We have to do it in a specialized way, in a massified way, so getting specialties plant by plant, having the right plant product allocation to reduce complexity, to improve our cost level, and achieve a quite stunning more than 30% improvement in sales per square meter. Michel was mentioning before the industrial plan that is currently on the way. Plant product allocation is key. Specialization of our technologies is key to achieve this 30% improvement that is going to happen until 2025. Obviously, we cannot live without further digitalization and automation. And linked also with the synergies we are seeing within Forvia, we will roll out a global digitalization and automation tool to support our operations and achieve an improvement of up to 60% on direct labor per sales ratio between 2021 and 2025. How does this translate in the operating margin? Obviously, we are starting at a level that is 1.8%, that is below our expectation, that is significantly impacted by impacts like the COVID lockdowns we were seeing last year, and we are still seeing some of them this year, by bottleneck crisis that started mid of last year and is still continuing to a certain extent, and the beginning of a high inflation rates that we need to tackle over the next few weeks, months, and years. We have a very clear plan how to address this. The first one, and I'm only showing the net impact, dilutive impact of inflation. We have to pass through more than 270 million euros of inflation. This inflation is based on material increases, it is based on energy increases, it is based on freight increases, and as it was already mentioned, it is based somehow also on hyperinflation on salaries and wages. All of this will be compensated to a high extent by internal measures, but also mostly by passing through this to the customer, which is already on the way. The figures that I just mentioned is including our estimations and our assumptions, including the year 2023. When we are looking then at the levers to improve further and to start the path back to benchmark profitability, we're seeing obviously one strong pillar, that is our order book, that will automatically generate, based on the EV exposure, the high-tech LED exposure we have in our portfolio, a significant volume and product mix impact. On the slide before, I mentioned the manufacturing and R&D efficiency all together. That is representing the second lever based on our reducing the CapEx and reducing the R&D ratio to sales by more than 20% before 2025. Last but not least, it was already mentioned, the very important impact of synergies. I was mentioning a few of the commercial synergies by acquiring businesses together and creating opportunities together. Obviously, on the operations and on purchasing, there are also a lot of synergies that will help us to break through and to come back to at least 5% by 2025 already. The long-term ambition is obviously higher, but getting this already done by 2025 is an ambitious but realistic goal. In a nutshell, the key takeaways today: driving the sales growth of 3 billion euros to more than 4.3 billion euros, so the 10% CAGR between 2021 and 2025. Leveraging the technology leadership we have to grow in North America and in Asia more than 2 times faster than in Europe. Leveraging the over-proportional share we have on EV that will naturally boost in a profitable way our business. And growth selectivity, making sure that we are using our leadership to attack and to be on the right platforms, leveraging naturally 50% sales increase per project. The turnaround of the profitability, second, coming above 5% operating margin in 2025 already. Standardizing R&D, we mentioned this as a very important pillar. Turning around the European footprint, that is by specializing and massifying our operations. Accommodating all of this growth without adding a single square meter to our footprint. This is what we will do over the next years. And last but not least, generating a strong cash conversion, focusing on being more restrictive on the CapEx side, improving here the ratio by 20%, using the lean tools, the digital tools, to also here improve our inventory ratio by more than 30%. Thank you very much for your attention. This is our contribution to Power 25.
Fantastic. Thank you, Yves. Thank you so much for sharing about the lighting business. We have 2 more business lines to go before we look at the financial roadmap. But before that, let's welcome our next speaker who will talk about clean mobility. Please welcome Olivier Lefebvre.
Good afternoon, everybody. I'm happy to drive you today in our clean mobility journey. I will go through product, strategic drivers, and ambitions. Clean mobility can be divided in 2 businesses. The first one is hydrogen solution, and the second one is ultra-low emission. Before going to the hydrogen roadmap, I want to underline 2 very important items. The first one is the market. Going through our powertrain assumptions, we foresee in 2030 taking into account an electrical range between 37 and 50%, around 1% of vehicle, which will be mainly light commercial vehicle and US trucks. Adding to that 250 heavy duty, we will reach in 2030 between 1.2 to 1.7 million vehicles based on hydrogen solution. The second very important item is to have a low-cost hydrogen available. For that, massive investments are on the way, and we foresee in 2030 26 million of tons of hydrogen available, which will be huge for us because mobility will present only 10% of it. So that means we will have hydrogen available. Moreover, they will be based on renewable energies, plus, in addition to this high capacity installed, we'll be able to have a low-cost hydrogen that we take as assumption between 3 to 4 euros per kilo. The second important item is that we will need to provide an affordable solution. And for that, I will cover it later on. We have a very aggressive cost roadmap that will enable us to bring the fuel cell solution at an affordable price. That means for more than 300, 400 kilometers, the fuel cell solution will be more affordable and more competitive than a battery solution. This is really good because, as I was describing on the market, the product or the vehicle we want to address are light commercial vehicle or heavy duty, so this solution will fit perfectly to that. At Forvia, we have 3 product offers. The first one are the fuel cell that we deliver through Symbio. The second one are the hydrogen storage solutions. Based on these 2 product offers, we are able to address 70% of the market value. We are also present through a modular system based on the same type of tanks that we produce for the storage, on a containers system where we put 36 tanks inside in order to be able to store and distribute hydrogen. So as you can see, we are ready to address a 20 billion market in 2030 with these 3 product offers. We are a technology leader. We have already launched our first mega plant in Allenjoie. This plant will produce more than 100,000 tanks very soon. And this plant is based on our best know-how in terms of Industry 4.0 and automation. In the same time, we are not limiting our expertise in only gas under pressure solution, but we are working on cryogeny and developing solutions through a partnership with Air Liquide to be ready, and we'll have a prototype available middle of next year, in order we can address these cryogeny solutions based on liquid hydrogen. This will enable to double the capacity with the same volume, which will be very relevant for heavy-duty solutions. We are convinced that the tank and the reservoir of the future will be far different than the one we are producing today. And for that, we have a very strong innovation roadmap to address 3 main topics. The first one is to be able to provide conformable tank. Today, as you could see on the demonstrator we have behind me, we are putting 3 cylinders on a cubic area, which is not super efficient. So we have developed a concept of conformable tanks that will fit perfectly at the place of the battery pack and that will enable to have 60% more capacity of hydrogen stored. The second key driver of this innovation roadmap is to be able to create some smart tank. Based on a strong partnership with our colleagues from HELA and their know-how in sensors, we want to address all possible business case or usage case with our customers in order to anticipate and provide a very safe device. For instance, if the vehicle has a shock, we will be able to give to the driver what he needs to do. Stop, call emergency, or restart because it was an uneven shock. And the last point is to be able to provide sustainable solution based on new type of materials in order that we have able to match the sustainability. We have already a very strong commercial momentum. We are addressing already 15 customers, and we have a strong order intake, both on light commercial vehicles and heavy duties. The affordability of the system will be key. And for that, we have a very strong cost convergence roadmap in order we can divide in the future by 4 the cost of the system. Based on that, we are able to confirm that in 2030, we will be able to reach 3.5 billion of sales. And we have already a very strong order intake, as I was saying, 800 million this year, and we have a roadmap for more than 2 billion next year. Break-even is expecting between 27 and 2030, and we have been able to get in September the highest IPCEI funding share. Let's now move to ultra-low emission. Ultra-low emission is one of our core business. We are today depolluting more than 30 million cars per year. So we are the market leader. This market is changing and electrification is accelerating. We assume that electrification will give us an addressable market in 2030 around 60%. In the same time, all OEM are concentrating themselves on a limited number of engines. And they are creating what we are calling long life cycle platforms. And we can say that we have between 2 to 5, depending on the customers, long life cycle platforms available on the market. These long life platforms will represent in 2030 50% of the vehicle that will be produced. We are the market leader, 26% of market share today. We are very strong in all regions, and our customer portfolio is very well balanced. Thanks to this very strong intimacy with all customers, our ambition is to further increase our market share by acquiring 50% of all these longevity programs or long life cycle programs. Based on that, we'll be able to reach 30% in market share in 2030 and achieving 4 billion of sales in 2030. We have already a very strong business model, and our ambition is to make it even more stronger. We want to increase the profitability to 12% and having a cash generation of 100%. How we will do that? First of all, we are working on massifying our production plant and repurposing them. For instance, the plant of Allenjoie is today a ultra low emission plant that we are repurposing to produce in the middle term 100% of hydrogen. The second big activity is that thanks to these long life cycle programs, we will be able, because we are using very standard equipment and solutions, we'll be able to reuse all our equipment to address these new platforms, going to 80% of reuse equipment. We will also work on our pricing and passing through inflation and anticipating the flexibility of our R&D and having a leaner concept. On the cash side, we will work on enhancing our contract management and our CapEx usage. To conclude, we can say that we are largely recognized as the market leader in ultra-low emission, thanks to depolluting more than 30 million vehicles every year. Our ambition is to be even stronger, and we are convinced that we can even improve this strong business model to be even more profitable and generating structurally this 100% cash conversion. Thanks to by acquiring these long life cycle programs, we will be able to maintain a high level of turnover and increase our market share. Regarding hydrogen ambition, we want to be a worldwide leader. We will leverage our automotive competencies and we will make this technology safe and affordable while optimizing the funding solutions. As all of you know, hydrogen is rocket science. I will not tell you the truth if I was telling you that our life is easy, but with my team, we are solving step by step this complex equation. I have in clean mobility a fantastic team, a wonderful energy that are the engine of this transformation. And I am very proud of them. All together, we have fun and we make history. Thank you.
Thank you, Olivier. Thank you for your enthusiasm. Thank you so much. All right, one more business line to cover, and this time we are talking about Lifecycle solutions. Please welcome Leah Korzelius.
Thank you very much. Good afternoon also from my side. Leah Korzelius, responsible in the HELLA Management Board for Lifecycle Solutions. Lifecycle Solutions actually is uniquely positioned through the combination of 3 different business segments. The first segment being, let's say, the classical aftermarket, so spare, wear, accessory parts for the independent aftermarket. The second segment being a differentiator clearly, and was mentioned by Patrick and others a couple of times today already, is HELLA Gutmann, providing diagnostics equipment and services. And the third segment being special OE, developing, designing, and producing OE for the commercial and off-highway vehicle segments. I will walk you through these different segments, the independent aftermarket and the workshop solutions together being referred to as aftermarket. And let me start off with the aftermarket. The aftermarket being inherently a global business. We are present with sales companies and a presence on site in more than 35 countries. The independent aftermarket of HELLA is clearly recognized as a market leader in Europe in the respective segments. If you recognize in the workshops, etc., yellow boxes, there's a very strong reference on the HELLA brand, which is recognized as OE quality, reliable, but also driven by a team of passionate, knowledgeable, and expertise people in their respective areas. The brand is oftentimes voted as best brands with the highest brand awareness, and we are also clear that in the Forvia story, we will keep the HELLA brand for the aftermarket. The HELLA aftermarket is focusing on innovation, and there the linkage to the electronics is clearly supporting. To give you some flavor on the battery electric vehicles, we already have more than 600 parts in our portfolio. We cover a large share of the ADAS use cases through our portfolio, and with that, and also following clear feedbacks from the Automechanika this year, we are in the forefront of the BEV transformation that is happening in the aftermarket. We do build on a strong portfolio, and share of wallet is a key KPI that we are driving in our business. We are building on the strong lighting portfolio. You see the emerging electronics portfolio that is yet to grow, but you also see different elements because it's of fundamental relevance to cover a relevant share of wallet where we target to be at 20% at 2025. The portfolio is distributed classically through wholesalers, but also increasingly through the e-commerce. And just to give you a flavor also on that, Amazon is already our third largest customer that we have in Europe. The differentiating angle comes from the combination of the independent aftermarket with the diagnostic business of Hella Gutmann, which allows us to add the intelligence, the software, and the data to understand the decisions being made and also drive the decisions being made in the market. Hella Gutmann is already today covering more than 95% of the European car fleet and is effectively operating in an oligopoly market. You see in terms of the sales geography that Europe is clearly the anchor and the largest presence, so there is room to grow also internationally through our presence. We are just about to open, for example, a sales office based in Colombia. Transferring to special original equipment, SOE is designing, developing, and producing special original equipment for diversified segments. And I'm saying designing, developing, and producing because we have our own production facilities, including best cost facilities in India. We own a team of highly experienced and capable engineers that build on more than 60 years of experience. At the same time, we are clearly recognized as market and innovation leader, focusing on customization, individualization, etc. When we look forward in terms of growth areas, there is clearly the area of electronics, electric and electronics on the one hand. There is the area of truck, and there's also the area of different trends that is ongoing, styling, customization, etc., where our modular product design is well suited to cater that trend. We are considering a resilient market, given the fact that the end customer markets that we are serving is highly diversified. So we are talking commercial, off-highway, leisure, and also profitable niches in terms of SOE. When we translate that business portfolio into our growth ambitions, we are active in these resilient markets that are growing at a profitable or at a decent rate. For the aftermarket, 4.8%, and the SOE, 5.4%. We are growing at 7% above this market rate, driven by, on the one hand, electronics mentioned in the segments of aftermarket SOE, which is driving more than 20% of the growth. We are also accentuating the growth outside of Europe by effectively internationalizing. And third, last but not least, we are benefiting from the combination of Forvia. I will give you one example of a portfolio that was already launched, which is the exhaust portfolio. We do have the diagnostics on exhaust, we do have the sensor portfolio on exhaust, and now we offer the exhaust portfolio also to the aftermarket. So we are building a complete value chain around the exhaust, and we are exploring further areas to commercialize in the aftermarket. We are in very active interaction with the different business groups in Forvia to understand, both in terms of product, but also in terms of geographical reach, how we can benefit from our combination. And he has mentioned Japan as one example, but we are also considering different markets in the NSA region. We will manage the growth path with effectively remaining a profitability level of at least 12%. For sure, growing, especially in electronics, requires certain investments in terms of OPEX and CAPEX that need to be financed. We are managing and will continue to manage the headwinds of inflation and hyperinflation in the wages, including a very strict hiring process that we are executing. We have already set up a couple of years ago, the best cost strategy, which we are further accentuating, and we are effectively working on in and outsourcing decisions on some of the production processes. Next to the profitability, Lifecycle Solutions is also in a strong position in terms of cash conversion, which we will maintain and further improve, to work on and improve the CapEx to sales ratio as well as inventory to sales ratio with a clear action plan that is laying behind. Now from the operations of the business, talking about how the industry will evolve and how we see the life cycle industry undergoing a transformation. We clearly see that different stakeholders in the equation are evolving and are influencing the decisions that are being done, centered around the workshops. So on the one hand, we have the parts manufacturers, which are increasingly focusing on sustainable, long-lasting and upgradable products, which offer a relevant portfolio, which is clearly our core and will continue to be our core. We see the logistics providers, the wholesalers, the e-commerce, who are providing the logistic towards the workshop, and we see the different stakeholders, take, for example, insurance companies, increasingly influencing the decision about repair of a car and workshop selection, etc. We see an increasing influence of fleet providers, be it company fleet, be it Amazon fleets, etc. And we see that automobile clubs, just take the example of the German ADAC, combining more than 20 million participants, are also influencing decisions that are being done. And that is why the diagnostic services and companies such as Hella Gutmann are becoming the spider in the net to grasp the data, analyze the data, and understand the value change in the industry. And that will allow us to make smart investment decisions also going forward. And it's very clear that in the transformation of the industry, our focus is and will continue to be on a relevant portfolio with a share of wallet of larger than 20%, and on the investment into diagnostic services. We have mentioned the name of Hella Gutmann. That is why I show here a brief summary. You see that more than 60% of the business is driven around software and services. And you see the word of multi-brand, not only the multi-brand diagnostic, but also the multi-brand workshop equipment. So effectively, we are able to serve a one-stop shop for multi-brand workshops, be it in high voltage testing, be it in state of health battery check, but also a multi-brand solution for ADAS cases. And we see it continuing, and we do believe in the rising share of multi-brand dealerships and workshops. And with that offering, we are well positioned to participate effectively in that trend. We see that we are in the forefront of remote services, so using remote services in the workshop for advanced diagnostic and repairs. But we are not only talking about what is happening inside the workshop, but also what is happening outside of the workshop. And this is a very simple example of a fleet company with a failure in the field, and one of the major KPIs being the time out of service. So typically you would see 1 to 2 weeks to detect the failure, to find the workshop orders the part, etc., 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 at a rather high cost. Using telematics outside of the workshop will allow to immediately identify what is the failure, to add intelligence and software to find the right spare part, to send it to the workshop, to reduce it to 1 or 2 days, and to dramatically scale down the cost. And with that simple example, you can see the use cases that we are currently driving together with other stakeholders of the industry. Summing it up, We are positioned well to drive the transformation of the life cycle industry. We are represented in resilient markets. We are growing above the market, and we keep and maintain a good level of profitability through operational excellence, including cash management going forward. And with that, I think I would conclude on the business group perspective. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you, Leah. Thank you. And that